We're now joined by Bryan and Farhan Lalji as we're looking to piece together the puzzle that will be the AFC playoff picture. And the catch is you both have to agree on the teams you select, but you each have one veto, okay? So an instant no, sending that team packing no matter what the other one says. So let's start with the first round bye. And Farhan, who do you got as the 1 seed in the AFC?
Sarah, this is a tough one for me because I think the Bills could claim that #1 seed because they're in the weakest division in the AFC East. But I think the best team in the conference is the Denver Broncos. They're going to take home that #1 seed again. Yeah, they're in a tougher division, but I really like what Sean Payton is building there. That defense is absolutely lights out, and they were able to do it last year with very little contribution from the offensive side of the ball. I think that's going to change this year. I think there's another level for Bo Nix to get to, and I believe that Jalen Waddle being added to that receiving core is really going to open things up offensively as well.
I think it's going to be the Bills personally, but I don't think strongly enough to use my veto right off the bat. I'm not going all in on the first hand here. Like, it's the 1 seed. I agree with what Farhan said.
Okay, you hold on to your veto then. Let's keep it going. The Broncos getting the bye, meaning they take home the AFC West. Hayes, who do you have winning the other 3 divisions?
Obviously, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills here, right? I have to go with Buffalo as the 2 seed in the AFC because I think they could be the 1 seed. But it's not only the division they play in. I think they're going 4-0 against Miami and against the Jets. I think at least a split against New England. But I really like the fact that there's a new era there in Buffalo, and they're really emphasizing that. And I wasn't anti-Sean McDermott. I know a lot of Bills fans were. I wasn't. He was very consistent. He got them to the playoffs every year. But I'm very curious to see what the offense looks like now that Joe Brady has veto power over everything they're going to do there. So I got the Bills winning the AFC East. I have the Texans winning the AFC South. Might be the best defense in the league. C.J. Stroud got hammered last year, and especially in the playoffs. Understandably so, deservedly so. If you're a quarterback and you play that poorly under the brightest lights, you're going to get crushed with criticism. He got it. I don't think he was that bad. They had a brutal offensive line, injuries, a lot of injuries on the offensive side of things in terms of weapons. I think C.J. Stroud bounces back. Texans win the AFC South. AFC North, I'm going with the Bengals. I'm going with Joe Burrow and the Bengals and a makeshift defense. They put more emphasis on that front 7 in Cincinnati. I don't think it's a great division to begin with. I think Joe Cool and company can get things done. I have Cincinnati winning the AFC North.
Yeah, it's not bad, and I think Cincinnati and Baltimore are going to be the 2 teams in that division. And I think we're so used to seeing that division just so physical and so competitive. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a 2-horse race between those 2, but I'm not going to use my veto power because that's coming, I know.
You still both got your veto. Farhan, who do you have making the 3 wild card spots?
Well, I'm going to start with the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be the NFL's comeback player of the year. He's been in Kansas City the entire offseason. He looks great. He's been a going 11-on-11 coming out of the gate. So I've got them as my 5 seed, my top wild card.
I'm going with the veto here. I hate to cut you off, Farhan. I was listening to it. Very compelling. I'm going to use the veto here. I'm not buying it with Kansas City.
No?
I'm not buying it because I know that the scouting reports have been pretty positive on Patrick Mahomes. I'm not, again, a believer that this is like the end of his prime or that he's not going to be the greatest player in the league at any point the rest of his career. I just will believe it when I see it when he comes back from this injury. And I don't like that offense enough, Farhan. I just don't. I think Kelsey's finished. I don't like the wide receivers in Kansas City in terms of trust. Rashee Rice and Worthy has never popped the way that they thought he was going to. I'm going to use my veto. I'm taking Kansas City out.
And are we putting a team in there?
I am going to put in the New England Patriots, all right? I know people are anti-New England. Can we remember who was in the Super Bowl last year? They were in the Super Bowl. They're better this year with A.J. Brown. And I'm a believer in Drake May, Farhan. I am. I think look at what he did during the regular season. I get what happened in the playoffs, and maybe he had an easier road than others. And in the Super Bowl, he looked overwhelmed. I'm not in the Super Bowl week 1 through 18. I'm just looking about making the playoffs. I'm vetoing Kansas City, and I'm putting New England in.
Are we good with that, Farhan?
No chance. I'm using my veto right now on the Patriots, and they're not going to get that split against Buffalo. This team is fraudulent, and A.J. Brown was their only addition.
Fraudulent.
They have the laughably worst schedule of a Super Bowl participant in how long? The Patriots are going to be like the Chiefs were 2 years ago. They made it to the Super Bowl. They lost. They missed the playoffs the next year. That is going to be the Patriots. They are not going to get it done. I'm going to replace them with the Chargers. Back-to-back 11-win seasons. under Jim Harbaugh, and I know that Justin Herbert always leaves you wanting. However, this time around, he's got Mike McDaniel. They've added the Canadian in Akeem Mesidor, so I think they're going to have a pretty good pass rush rotation there. A third AFC West team in a really, really difficult division. I talked about the Ravens earlier. I think as long as Lamar Jackson stays healthy, I think that's going to be enough for them to get a wild card spot in what is otherwise a weak division outside of Baltimore and Cincinnati. And then my last one is going to be Jacksonville. I think Liam Cohen has finally been able to get Trevor Lawrence to play at the level he needs to play at. They won their final 8 games of the regular season last year. I think Lawrence is playing at that level. I think he was able to get the most out of him. So I think Jacksonville is going to edge out all of those other pretenders for the final wild card spot in the AFC.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I mean, I don't have veto power anyway, so
That's
I couldn't
right.
change
Vetoes
it.
are gone.
But I agree with what you're saying about Baltimore. And I would add Derrick Henry in there. Like, he's got to be a big part of that offense to help Lamar. And I have no reason to believe that he won't continue to be an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on Jacksonville. Very quietly, which is the nature of their team and their history because of the market they play in, they were the hottest team in the league down the stretch, right?
Yeah,
like,
they
they
got really
scared
hot.
the Bills, too. Absolutely. They were a legit team down the stretch in November and December last year, and I think that carries over. So I'm all good with all of those playoff teams across the board.
All right, we've done it. I
Yes,
love the way
we've
you
done
guys used your vetoes. The AFC side of the puzzle is now complete. And we're going to come back to the game board because, of course, we got to do the NFC and the full playoff picture with you two.